a video. I was like, you know what? That's a lot of effort, and we've already gone over it, so I don't really want to.
You would need Dunn for the entire thing.
Well, I might include him because, he has some good insight as well. But it's so crazy that you just sit there and you're like, is this even serious? Is this even worth considering? So, yeah. Anyway.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah. Anyway, good afternoon, folks. Welcome to Smudcast number 508. I beg you, please cripple your characters. Happy Mother's Day, everyone. Happy weekend.
Nice things to have both of those things in one sentence.
Yeah, I was like, wait a second. It's Sunday. It's a nice day. Everything's sunny out here, nice and warm. Hopefully you have a good weekend.
That motorcycle driver just have a birthday hat on?
Yes.
Sure, why not?
Anyhow.
Yes, these things happen. Anyway, this video came out in April of this year. It has almost 260,000 views. Fantastic. The guy knows what he's doing. This is by Savage Books. I think we've covered Savage Books, last year. Great YouTuber. He knows his stuff about storytelling, and I always like watching his videos. I haven't seen this one, but it's not going to take too long. And
we're not talking about Broken Bones, are we? Talking about terms of writing.
We could actually be talking, because that is an effective way of literally crippling your characters, but it's only a 10-minute and a half video. I think I'm going to be stopping it to add my own 2 cents, because there's always little nuances. But I don't know about you guys. You might be enjoying it. You might be hating it. Don't worry to stop the video and say, but this doesn't make sense. But he's a very good YouTuber, so who knows? It might work out for everyone. We'll just sit back, relax, have a drink, and enjoy.
I just like to be along for the ride.
Yeah, it works too. No problem.
Yeah, I was going to ask, if you're driving, how are you going to...
Oh, I just parked now. I just parked.
Yeah, I literally want to be along for the drive while we're talking. Okay.
Yeah, I just parked outside of a Hardee's because I was going to eat there anyways.
Okay. Anyway.
I'm not going to be an asshole and order something while I'm on the podcast.
Okay. It'd be funny though.
Number 2 was cheese.
Yeah, I'm an asshole. Can I get this stuff from Hardee's because I'm a fan favorite or something? Or not fan favorite. What's the term for a fanboy, I guess? Dang it.
Okay, so would you like anything else?
Is there any Mother's Day specials, please? Yeah, like the combo of number 6 for my mom.
Speaking of mothers, I should say Happy Mother's Day because I know I got a few mother figures I want to show this video to, maybe.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a interesting thing to say, but okay, fine, very good enough. Everyone's in this watch together, I believe. Yeah.
Yes.
All right, let's go.
Oh, okay, there we go.
A few months ago, I had the truly deep pleasure of rewatching a timeless, critically acclaimed classic from my childhood. It's a Disney film that's in the contention for being one of the most revolutionary and groundbreaking cinematic accomplishments of its time.
Not the Lion King. No way. There's no way.
Hey, Smart. Dom would like to come on.
Dom. Dom.
Dunn Beverage.
Did you say Dom?
No, not that Dunn.
No.
Please don't let any comments say anything stupid.
It's about family.
That's what's so powerful about it.
It's about
Hey,
family.
Dunn.
Hey, Dunn. How you doing?
Hey. So the thing, and I'm just like, I want to be on for this one.
Oh, yeah, you like Savage Books? He's great, huh?
Oh yeah, I love Savage Books, and this is a really interesting, since I've done this, used this particular writing technique a couple of times.
Yeah, no, this is, writers do this without thinking of it as a technique. It just sort of, this makes perfect sense to do this to your characters for whatever reason. And it's kind of like giving them a weakness, and you don't even think about it because it's so natural to you. You should have your characters have flaws, and it doesn't matter if it's a literal flaw, like someone just came by and like break their legs, or they're just not good in crowds. But either way, you introduce an element that gets brought up like a Chekhov's gun later. So if you say your character is scared of spiders in chapter 1, you better have some spiders in chapter 4 or 5. So it's that simple. All right.
Even though, like, they have trouble walking.
Yeah. All kinds. I've read so many books in fantasy and science fiction where they just start off with a weakness. It's just blatantly straightforward. This is how you describe a character the first time you see them or read about them. this guy, he has a cane, or he had a gift, but that came at a cost or a price. So a lot of this is basic stuff, and I'm glad that some guy's addressing it. I don't know if crippling is the right verb I'd use to describe how to do this, but it is a way of doing it. So
wait,
what would the verb be?
Giving them a flaw. Flawing your characters. not
flaws, okay.
When I say cripple, I'm thinking like I'm going to break your legs. That's what I think of it, or take away your eyesight, or something physical. I think of crippling. Like emotionally crippling, I wouldn't even. It doesn't make too much sense. Maybe something psychological.
I broke your heart.
Yeah, that's a bit dramatic stuff that you do after the fact. Not he had a bad childhood, therefore he never learned to love his friends, or what. It's like, what are you talking about?
So
he died of a broken heart.
So actually read emotional crippling that was done relatively well in Shad's book, Shadow of the Conqueror, where this lady was basically used as a sex slave for a few months when she was 14, and that's very much emotionally scarred her in regards to intimacy. She can't even talk about sex without having a panic attack.
Right.
Because of the horrible things that happened to her.
Right. The way I sort of rationalize that is that I don't want to reveal the like this person is X and they were raped and therefore they are emotionally scarred. I want them to just introduce the character as they are a slave. And you should know from the word slave what that means by their behavior and how their master treats them. And like I don't want to go into that just yet. And I'd rather that be revealed naturally, not as a form of third-person description.
So that's actually how it's done, where like she just has like weird, very, very acute anxiety about sex and intimacy, and doesn't go into why.
Yes, see, that's what I want.
That happened.
I want mystery.
And you find out later from the guy that abused her what happened.
Yes, you don't want to have a writing technique that supersedes another element of writing, like mystery or intrigue or suspense. You sort of allow it to be its own thing and have it connect with the plot and character, and that's it. And you just go on to the next story or the next setting, and you just keep going with it. That's how he develops characters. Very, very straightforward. Very simple.
I feel like people should intuitively know when they see something. Like, they shouldn't have it, spelled outright, or they should be like implied. Like, okay, I think I know what's going on. Like,
take your audience don't assume that your audience is stupid, essentially.
Exactly.
Yeah, do not assume your audience is stupid, even though sometimes they can be.
Right. And with the idea of like slavery, if you want to, you have a fantasy setting and there's slaves and masters and there's like inferior races or whatever racism you have, and you want to put a spin on that, you say, yeah, there is slavery, but it's kind of like this. And you describe what that means. Like there's a magical mark that prevents the slave from thinking certain thoughts or acting aggressively. And that's why when you see a slave, you're like, oh, I feel safe because they're not going to do anything aggressive because there's some magical limitation or some technological reasoning. There's all kinds of fun stuff you can do to set up your world with these levels of social society treating people differently. So it's great stuff. And so long as you're not like, and this is what happens when you do that, it's like, give the limitation quickly and then get on with it. So you don't have to go into the psychological reasoning at first, at least.
Basically the opposite of episode 1, where they just say, oh, they implant a chip in your brain and they blow you up if you run away.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that came out of completely nowhere. God, I hated that scene.
When I hear episode 1, I'm just thinking Star Wars right now.
Yeah, well, it is, yes.
Wait, that actually happens in Star Wars?
Yes, well...
You didn't know that?
Qui-Gon goes to Tatooine, and he meets up with young Anakin Skywalker. Anakin basically explains that like they cannot run away because they have a chip implanted in their brain that makes them explode.
What?
Yeah.
How do they disable it?
Like they have dinner, and then like suddenly like he talks like it blows up and boom, something like that.
dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Exactly.
Oh man,
my brain just had a fart right now. Like, what happened?
That's George Lucas. Don't worry about it.
I know.
It's like poetry, it rhymes.
Oh, God. Anyway, let's get going. Vladimir Dragunov, thanks for the 2. How about PTSD? Well, PTSD is a psychological condition, and there's so many great ways to show trauma. Like, you'd have literally a flashback, your first chapter, of some horrific war or trauma or anything, just of the person being shell-shocked and just getting hit with all this trauma. And then you just go into that later on. You could have flashbacks. You could have all kinds of wonderful setups for how that they're going to deal with that, or if they can deal with that, or if they get into a similar scenario in the future. So some foreshadowing. You can use a flashback as foreshadowing. There's all kinds of great stuff, but you have to actually read up on what triggers PTSD and why, as opposed to just having something dangerous happen to them and they're scared and it was the word hot dog and you're like, what?
It feels like lately.
Yeah, you can't just invent shit that nowadays people are triggered by words or some nonsense. You have to actually have it be a real form of trauma as opposed to what you think is trauma.
Well, you know, Smud, words are violent. I learned this from Twitter.
Words literally hurt people. Oh my gosh. Don't you know that? It's the current century.
Yeah, well.
Hate speech, yo. Come get with the times.
I know. Anyway, let's see the not best Disney
Laura
film.
Boy. Just joking.
As you can see, the deep praises belong to Luck of the Irish. If you haven't seen Luck of the Irish or don't remember it, please give it a watch. There are some truly fantabulous gems in there.
I mean, when the Irish came to America, things were tough, and they had to work at jobs other people wouldn't take, and they didn't get paid what they deserved.
Wait, sorry, I'm confused. What movie is this? Disney XD?
This is called Luck of the Irish, and you're very fortunate that I am the only person who has watched this because it was on Disney Channel while I was at a hotel.
Wow.
It's basically a family of leprechauns loses their luck, gets their luck stolen. They have to get it back. Otherwise, the guys will have to deal with they will have to turn into we stereotypically think of as leprechauns.
I think I've seen this movie, but this was like when I was a kid. I don't remember much of it.
I don't remember very much of it other than the basics.
There are a lot of Disney/family films that are under the radar, and some of them are a bit racy. It's kind of strange what they did in the late 90s and early 2000s. And I'm trying to remember the names of some. Like there was one where there was this family and this neighbor was a witch and she could turn into a cat and she was trying to ruin the family for some reason and she was like seducing the husband and they're about to have sex and then he sees this tail popping up from behind her and you're like, what the? And I'm like, what is going on? This is crazy.
I ain't no furry. Get away.
Yeah, it was like
Finally got some pussy.
it was like, wow, what kind of Disney film is this? And I don't remember what the hell it was called. So anyway, yeah, no, these.
I want to see that movie now.
I want to just because my memory is so bad. I'm like, what the freaking hell was that?
That actually reminds me of another film where, if we're talking about Disney films, because I swear I was like one of the few people that saw You Lucky Dog on Disney. Worst part was it was like at 3 p.m. when I saw it when I was like 6. It was underrated movie. It had Kirk Cameron in it. It basically was like guy and a dog somehow can link minds essentially. Kind of weird.
So he's a wolf brother from Wheel of Time. Lovely.
Oh boy, let's not talk about that. Here's JS. The thing about characters having PTSD and other mental disorders is that you don't do your research properly, you'll end up being downright disrespectful or dismissive of the condition, which will at best alienate the audience. Yeah, there's lots of mental conditions that some of them that I mentioned in Picard, like multiple personality, which don't exist. And they've changed the DSM for decades ago. and no one's aware of that. So you have all this stupid bullshit in science fiction or even fantasy that it's like, okay, there's a plausible magical reason or a technological reason, but there's no basis in psychology. So you have to invent something like a species that can just infiltrate someone's mind in some fashion, or some magic system, or some telekinetic physical technology system. You have to do something to get people to believe, oh, okay, there is now multiple personalities, or you can read people's minds this way. Like, you have to have that set up beforehand. You can't just have this wizard dude walk into the room and solve everyone's problem within 2 seconds.
Well, to be fair, I did read up something about something interesting involving multiple personality disorder, because this was kind of weird, and someone's going to be calling BS on this, but essentially, when a person had a different personality, either when that different personality was blind, their brain also showed that they were blind, and some alternate personalities or different personalities had like different allergies or stuff like that.
Well, there are various things called fugue states where the mind, certain parts of the brain can be turned on and off because of trauma or exhaustion or anxiety, and you could see things. You technically hallucinate, so you'll see things which aren't there, and even though you're totally rational, like you're running a race and you're just pushing your body to the limit, and then you just collapse, and you wake up and you start seeing shit, and then you go back to bed and you wake up again, and it's like, what the hell? Just, I can't even remember what happened because parts of my brain were firing that weren't supposed to. And that happens to a lot of people just with anxiety. You wake up in the middle of the night or you're about to go to bed and you're just like shaking because guilt, worry, like could be any reason. You forgot to flush the toilet. Like any reason could drive you crazy. And you wake up and you get a glass of water, you go back to bed and you're like, what the hell is that about? So there's lots of weird stuff happening in your brain that you are not even aware of, and science is not properly classified yet. So it's fascinating stuff, but you shouldn't jump into the realm of like crazy fantasy unless you have a little training, little reading on psych.
Oh yeah, I was just saying that some my tongue gets twisted. My point was essentially some stuff that you might think when you see this mental disorder on TV, some of the stuff that might sound unrealistic might be realistic, considering stuff like that. What I just mentioned with the person with multiple personality disorder having like different allergies with the different personality. Or
right. Yeah, this is the same problem with the CSI effect. They don't showcase technology properly, or even with House, they don't showcase certain... not even diagnoses, but certain ailments properly. And it's just all because they have to get the story going. They only have 45 minutes to tell the story. And it's not about, hey, I'm going to give you a detailed explanations of Lou Gehrig's disease. It's like, we don't care. We're here to watch House be awesome and solve the problem of what's wrong with this person. So there's excuses because of medium and because of story, which are invented, unfortunately.
Maybe we don't want to necessarily know about Lou Gehrig's disease, but we definitely want to know about Smurf Gehrig's disease.
Oh, God.
Oh, Lou Gehrig deserved better.
Yeah, well. All right, here is Joe Crazy for the 5. In Luck of the Irish, the kid is only half leprechaun on his mother's side. Cool. Good. Good to know.
She turns into a tiny leprechaun person.
Oh, yeah. Well,
I'm not making any jokes about that.
yeah, the best knowledge I have of the Irish is beer and Irish cream whiskey. So
I got a lot of Irish blood in me.
Oh, yeah.
All I know is they love to make jokes. They can take a joke as well as they can take a punch, probably.
Oh, boy. Okay. Anyway.
I know about shepherd's pie.
Yep. They do have some love of the potatoes, that's for sure. So,
yes.
Anyway, let's continue.
They deserved.
Well, at least they got paid.
But the reason I bring up Luck of the Irish, aside from its visionary representation of Irish culture and heritage...
You're a foot tall. It's probably just an allergic reaction. Boiled potatoes.
...is because the film does utilize a narrative technique that I think should honestly be more widespread. It cripples the character. Now, I don't mean the story sees the character physically maimed, even though there are some awesome fictions where that does happen. No, by cripple, I mean that the story takes away the character's greatest strength in order to explore that character more deeply and genuinely.
That's a good point. I wouldn't necessarily say the greatest strength, but a thing that they rely on or that's important to them. It doesn't have to be like, I'm an amazing basketball player and now I can't raise my arms above my head anymore. That'd be a bit too much. It would be like he gets nervous at the start of every game and he has to like throw up to just play the game normally. If he doesn't do that, he fails. Like something along those lines.
And that, like, he's been really good at basketball up to this point, and then abruptly he's not so good anymore, and he has to. He goes from prodigy to average Joe.
Something.
Wasn't there? Oh, dang it! I'm trying to remember that movie. There was like a movie with this boxer woman who was trained to be like one of the best boxers, but when she basically got crippled, she basically told her coach that she wanted to basically die, essentially. I think that's what it was. I'm trying to remember what it is. Would that be something like that?
I don't see why not. Yeah, that could work.
I'm trying to remember what that stupid movie was, though.
There's a few of those weird, not boxers specifically, but people who are prize fighters of some kind that are trained. Like even Rocky is the classic example, where it's not about them making money or whatever. It's just, I can prove to myself I can fight or I can do something. And it's all about the struggle. So I think every film has sort of based the template off of Rocky, the first film. Alrighty, here we go.
Again, if you don't remember, Kyle, the protagonist, has been extremely lucky all of his life because of a magic coin that grants him good fortune. Across the movie, he loses that coin and has to live out his life actually having to struggle and work for what he wants. The whole tension of the film basically boils down to, can he beat the villain without his magical lucky coin? Now, Luck of the Irish doesn't have the most nuanced utilization of this narrative, but honestly that is not complete.
I think that's Lassiter from Psych.
Oh, really? I like the ladies dancing. That's always fun. This guy?
Yes! Oh my gosh!
Oh yeah, that is him.
It is!
Who is he?
That's Lassiter from Psych. He's a police officer. He's a detective. That's always up against...
Seriously? It's him?
That's...
I don't know what
Wow.
is.
He has a baby face.
It's a TV show about this guy who's hyper observant and is basically Sherlock Holmes. He pretends that he is a psychic or to solve crimes.
He pals on with his black friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a younger version of him, obviously.
Yeah.
Much younger. Anyway.
Now, Luck of the Irish doesn't have the most nuanced utilization of this narrative tool, but honestly that is not completely necessary at all times. The basic tenet of this avenue of writing is to explore and possibly redefine the identity of the crippled character. This is a subversion of the prototypical cumulative style of character building. What I mean by that is that most stories have a character face a struggle, then gain a skill. Then through gaining that skill, they grow as a person, aka develop as a character. Then they overcome the struggle with the new skill. This sequence is repeated over and over again until the narrative ends. This is the traditional style of character growth. But the inverse is what we are talking about.
Wait, I know he was just showing Hero Academia. Was that what was that character's name?
Todoroki.
I forget. Oh yeah. His thing was that he never liked to use his firepower because he hates his father, right?
His father basically was an asshole. Him not using fire powers was basically him giving the middle finger to his father. And pretty much everything he stood for.
And then Midorian wanted him to use it. And I forget the episode, but that's when he starts using it.
Well,
as an advantage versus...
What's he talking about here is that it's the concept of a plot going from rags to riches or riches to rags, and in this case it's the character's skills. So it's like Batman. Imagine Batman couldn't walk anymore or use his deductive reasoning as well. Just sort of take away something from Batman that makes him Batman. Can he still do his job? It's like, yes, but not as well. And we see Batman struggle. Maybe he's a fear of heights. Maybe he's scared of bats. Like, there's all kinds of great stuff you can do with that.
He's scared of bats.
Yeah.
Again. Oh, I guess there is some episodes in the
Destroy the bat.
Yeah, no, he's terrified of the thing he's supposed to symbolize, and he just can't deal with it. It's, why not?
Right, with Scarecrow, yeah.
Oh, God, there's so many plots with Scarecrow and impacting people. I don't know about Batman specifically, but yeah.
The funny thing about Scarecrow wasn't he like a minor villain at some point before people were like, yo, this guy looks pretty cool, not gonna lie.
I think he's getting the more, like the Mr. Freeze sort of treatment where they sort of, okay, he's just a guy in a boogeyman outfit with magical gas. So let's give him some backstory and more value. I think when Arkham came out, the games really fleshed him out a lot more. So that's fine. Like, that's good because a lot of his... wasn't he part of Arkham Asylum?
He was part of Arkham.
Yeah, but he never... But I don't remember much character work. He's just there crazy. And
he was in Batman Begins.
Right, yeah. Not too much, though. Just enough to be a villain for that story.
Yeah.
Okay.
Today, and that can be just as interesting, if not more interesting. And I am confident in saying that because some of the most popular fictions in the world use this method and its many variations. Possibly the most iconic and basic use of this is Superman and Kryptonite. For all of the narratives involved with it, Kryptonite...
I wouldn't even go that. I think you're changing patterns here. This is literally kryptonite. Like, this is literally when we make it a thing that hurts another person. Like, we talk about vampires and sunlight or garlic or all these fantasy characters that have a weakness. It's like it's that level of technique. It's not Superman's bad around women. Like, he's scared of women or he's not good with relationships. Like, that would be more.
I think this guy kind of shot himself in the foot because kryptonite's something that is not something that cripples people, but more is tongue twisted again. It's more of a thing that it kind of weakens you or drains you. Like, yeah, it's lethal in some doses, but it's not exactly something that cripples people. It's more of a weakness.
Yeah, it's more like poison for the average person. Oh, they're now weak and they have to deal with this neurotoxin in their blood, so they can't run, they can't walk, their legs are numb. It could be lethal, like that sort of thing.
I'm kind of surprised that like he didn't mention Achilles and his heel.
Yeah,
as a weakness. I mean, maybe I have seen like too many like video essays, so I'm thinking like, when are they gonna bring up a Greek reference?
Yeah, all we have to do is introduce a flaw, and that is like, I'm scared of snakes, and then the next episode.
I think like that's like the first thing. I think like that has to be the first one.
Well, I think it's more of a not introduce a flaw, but more of a give the character a flaw because of an event, like someone loses his leg, essentially, not a flaw that he's had.
Well, think of it this way. When you introduce a character and you want them to be the ultimate badass or this or that, it's like, how did they get there? What makes them so good? And sometimes we don't know, but we have to show examples of them being that thing consistently to prove. Like, think of Golgo 13, right? We're not exactly sure what makes him amazing. We just know he's really experienced. And he has set up his lifestyle to be like, if you call him, he is going to take any job within reason, provided you have this price point and it's something with he can do. Like, he's not going to do everything, obviously, but you don't know exactly how he became so good. You know, he trains every day. You know, he's amazing with a gun. He's an amazing fighter, and he's scary as shit. Like, you don't know what the hell this guy's going to do or say next. And he could kill you because if you are even are some kind of threat to him in any capacity, like, you know he exists, you're going to die. And it's charming how everyone who contacts him either dies or you never see them ever again. So it's kind of like you're making a deal with the devil, and you don't know that. But you don't know he's the devil. You don't know how he became the devil. You just know he's so good at what he does. It's like, oh yeah, he kills people for a living. He better know what he's doing.
Well, I was going to ask, isn't Superman's weakness more or less like the people that he protects? Like Lois, for example.
He has a bunch. It's always the human elements of Superman that make him Superman. So when you say his greatest strength, it's not his super speed or this or that. It's his capacity to be a hero. And he's always dealing with the ethical ideas of who do I need to save right now? How do I do that? Because there's a lot of comics in Superman, and you're like, dude, you could have just solved this problem within seconds. You could have just whipped around really super fast, stopped all the bad guys, tied them up, and that would be that. But that's not why you read Superman. You read Superman because he has to choose, and you want to understand that choice. Why are you going here? Why are you saving those guys? Why are you saving these kids? What's the reason behind that? And he has to go into that. And I love how even Neil Gaiman knew that. He was like, okay, let's put Superman next to a god of dreams, and he brings him to hell. And Superman looks at the hell, and he has this supervision and super hearing. He looks at all the people in hell, and they're suffering. And he's looking at the depths of hell, and his brain just like can't process all the things that are happening. And he starts falling and falling and falling. And I think someone catches him or what have you. But the fact that he has such a concern to help people is his failing. And he doesn't know how to deal with great tragedy because he's used to fixing or saving the day. Anyway, Legacy $4.99. Thank you, sir. Pink Kryptonite. Oh no, we're not talking about Pink Kryptonite.
Oh, Pink Kryptonite.
There's Pink Kryptonite? No.
There's a whole rainbow.
Superman.
We don't.
I, Lex Luthor, have decided to.
LGBT Kryptonite.
There's a lot, and pink is the one we never talk about.
So that's like the explanation of like the current state of Marvel and DC.
It's
actually just the pink kryptonite being spread around. It's the new nanovirus.
Lex Luthor, you've gone too far. You've introduced pink kryptonite again.
Yeah, well,
Corona was never
the
real.
true villain of the universe.
Yeah, I wouldn't call that a weakness of Superman. I just call that goofy DC authors back in the day that they forgot to eliminate. So, anyway, let's see what he has to say.
Kryptonite functions to make Superman vulnerable and therefore bring intention to the conflict. Superman is basically all-powerful, just being himself, but Kryptonite quite literally cripples him into being weak enough to fail. When executed in its simplest form, many times the solution is just to remove the Kryptonite from his close vicinity. He gets his powers back, the bad guy gets a face full of pain, and the day is saved. Other times, though, the execution is a bit more nuanced. Even though Superman Returns as a whole is a lackluster film and arguably spits in the face of the comics, it does cripple its main character in an interesting way. Instead of returning Superman to his full strength and then having him stop the villain, the film shows Superman overcoming the antagonist even while crippled. Clark has literally been stabbed with a kryptonite shank, yet he saves the day anyway.
Oh, is this the part where like he grabs the kryptonite island or whatever, and then he's able to haul it off into space or whatever?
Yes.
Yeah. I would probably remind the first Superman movie where Lex puts a chain with kryptonite on it and just pretty much drops him in his underground swimming pool. And the girl who sees this, one of Lex's cronies or whatever, just a lady, a servant, she's like, I can't let Superman die.
Yeah.
And she goes and saves him.
Lucy.
This little lady, I can't let him kill Superman. That's horrible. And because of that, Superman is able to fly out of there and stop the missiles. So it's stuff like that. It's like, oh, that's so human. If you saw Superman suffering or a hero suffering, like we saw with Spider-Man on the train, like that sort of stuff, you think, oh yeah, totally. People would totally stop and try and help. And that's the sort of believability I like out of these comics. Because Superman is not all powerful. He does have weaknesses. And in those scenarios, they're deadly. Like if you get near that stuff, it will kill him. So it's always been a joke with kryptonite because he gets near it. Oh, it hurts. And then it touches him. Oh, it burns. It's like, are you going to die? When do you die? How does that work?
Well, I was just going to ask, like, this guy, he just said it was like Nuance in this movie. I'm wondering, In what way? Because I've only watched. I don't watch this movie a lot, so I.
Yeah. Gotten there yet? I don't think.
Oh, okay.
The mountain of kryptonite has always been a joke because it's like, oh, he's suffering and he's fighting against his weakness, and you're like, well, how?
He shouldn't be able to do anything. He should be
exactly. I think that's a stretch. I don't.
Yeah, exactly.
And then he almost dies or something,
a sliver,
he did die.
A sliver can kill him, but a mountain is like it's just in the way. Like what?
Yeah. I don't know. Whatever.
That just sounds like the old famous joke I heard. Bikini, no problem. With underwear, no, please, no. Even though they are the same.
Aren't we all conservative?
No, we like bikinis, regardless of our political affiliation. At least I do. I don't know what you guys.
But seriously, though, a mountain of kryptonite cannot kill Superman, but a sliver, yeah, that's just like the dollop. That just sounds so stupid.
I know.
Yeah, like you remember how it's Anakin can't go anywhere because he's got a chip in his head.
Yeah.
Oh, he does?
Yeah.
When was this?
So
I'm just joking.
Anyway.
Oh wait. Here's how Anakin killed all those younglings. The chip said, "Do it."
Obviously.
And Waldo's voice, really? Waldo's the real enemy.
All right.
Master Skywalker! This script is horrible! What do we do?
You see, Anakin, midichlorians are the thing you put in your brain.
Midi, what?
Right.
Stay in that cockpit.
Yeah.
See, it was the chip that also redeemed him because it's a part of Anakin Skywalker, not Darth Vader.
God, imagine if that chip was inside him the entire time. Oh God.
Why did he use it to control Darth Vader? That would have been perfect.
He got it out right after he got it out right after he got rescued.
As usual.
Okay, let's go.
By an island and thrusting it into space, even with the kryptonite in him. It's actually a really cool message about how even through physical weakness or disadvantage, you can still prevail to achieve your goals.
Okay, so even with non-fantasy stories or non-comic book stories, heroes are typically some character of high physical endurance, and they have the psychological mettle to deal with whatever they're given. That's sort of the baseline for a lot of heroes. And we see that. What was the that famous, not famous, but a well-known, popular anime about giants? Attack on Titan, right? You have three main characters. One of them's the strong chick, one of them's the smart dude, and one of them's the guy who never gives up. And his whole thing, he's so dedicated and serious, even though he's not as strong or smart, it doesn't matter. Whatever the challenge is, he is going to push himself. And you see that with like Batman, you see that with Superman, all these heroes, Solid Snake, they're all the same. They can take a beating and keep on going. It's the, what was that quote from Batman from Michael Caine? He's, Master Bruce.
I'm Batman?
No, Michael Caine.
What's best in life?
Who's Michael Caine?
Oh, sorry, I said Michael Keaton. I don't know what the hell's wrong.
Did I get his name wrong?
No, you got it right.
The butler.
Are you talking about Alfred, right?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Michael
Is
Caine.
that supposed to be Alfred?
Yeah, it's Alfred. He has that famous line, Master Bruce, what do we say when we fall down or something like that? Or what do we do when we fall down?
Why do we fall? To learn to pick ourselves up.
Right. Something like that. So that is the basic concept of the hero motif. They are going to constantly fall down, not die.
Or like Spider-Man.
Heal. Yeah,
I always get back up.
Always get back up, exactly. So they have their endurance stat, if you want to talk about RPGs or whatever, their endurance stat is always 18.
Yeah.
Not come from avoiding your problems, but from persevering through them. Funny enough, comic narratives and their coinciding fictions might be the one genre of storytelling that makes the most frequent use of crippling the character.
Oh wait, I just realized
Much like how
something.
Superman was a walking god-man and needed kryptonite to make him vulnerable to the conflict, the same can be said for Marvel's big screen uses of Thor. He is quite literally a god, and I don't even think he can die. He has super strength, can fly, controls lightning, he can do it all. And because of that awesome power, many conflicts before him seem insignificant. To remedy this, the narrative of the first movie cripples him and takes away his hammer, the source of his power. The entire movie then becomes about Thor becoming worthy enough to regain his hammer and his powers and save the day. The conflict of the narrative isn't whether or not Thor can overcome the Destroyer or Loki. Obviously he could if he had his powers. The conflict is whether or not Thor can grow on a personal level through the crippling of his powers. Still, if you want to see this idea executed much better, you can turn to see the movie Thor Ragnarok. Again, here Thor is...
No.
I'm sorry. No.
That's like a very stupid idea. That like all
I
of a
have
sudden
not
you introduce a
seen
character that's like way stronger than any of these characters.
Right.
Okay.
It's like the stepsister or something like that. Half sister, yes.
Well, I think that she's.
Hey Thor, are you the god of hammers? And then he just has his lightning powers back, but he still can't beat Hela.
Well, this
Are
is,
you the god of hammers?
this is the idea behind Superman, is that you have to introduce a villain who's stronger than him. So you have all these villains that are strong. They're so powerful because you either amp up the villain powers or you amp up the ethical quandary. So you have to do multiple things with these heroes. And if it's just all fighting, then it's boring. It's just a bunch of people blowing things up and blowing up planets and blowing up galaxies and blah, blah, blah. Whereas with the ethical questions that usually are related to Lex and what he tries to test Superman's patience with who to save first and these go this way or go that way, he's debating who needs to live and who needs to die. Who gets to...
I actually... sorry.
No, go ahead.
So, I was thinking about this movie that I feel like fulfills this quite well. Has anyone seen the Shazam movie? The live action one?
No.
Yes, I have.
I actually love that movie. And I feel like it
Very
did
funny.
the what?
Very funny.
I do!
It's very funny.
I thought you were saying it was...
Wait, what?
Actually, it's very
okay,
amusing. I like
That was very funny.
Yeah, I was worried when you said very funny because anyways, the movie does a pretty good job showing off how powerful Shazam is at the start. Him just basically taking out like two thieves and testing out his powers. Then you introduce this one guy who basically says, "Give me your powers, you little shit," and wants to kill him essentially. And the reason why the guy can't fight him, despite the fact he has all these cool powers, is that at the end of the day, he's still a child. And the only reason he ends up winning is, well, he's also outnumbered like 7-1. But he also gets help from his adoptive family at the end, who basically helps him out. And he ends up winning with his family, not just by himself. I think is the best way I can explain it.
Right, because he rejected the idea of having family like that, right? Like, because he was more of a lone wolf at the beginning, trying to find his mother.
He felt like his family was his birth mother, and that everyone that adopted him was just not real family to him, or he didn't feel like they was because it wasn't blood or something.
Yeah.
So again, it's the same concept of you're bringing them down to a simple level, so from rags to riches. So a prince going from the highest rung of society, he loses everything and he has to slowly build it back up. Whether it's a skill or an ability, it's the same concept. The plot has to go in a certain direction. He has to struggle.
And I think that's what Ragnarok tries to do, but it's just silly, goofy movie at the end of the day.
Yeah, there's some drama here and there. There are some moments that they connect, which are fine. They also have excellent, not a mini boss, but like a side character who redeems himself or tries to redeem himself. So
what was it? Carl Urban, right?
yeah, no, it has some good moments. It's just goofy. It's just a lot of goofy scenes where it's like, okay, they're trying to be funny, and it's like, that's not really what I was here
There
for.
are some.
I got
kind of weird-
I got a question. I've noticed a negative reaction about Ragnarok. Is it a bad movie?
No, it's not a bad movie. No.
It's entertaining if you don't consider any of those things that made the other movies connect to each other. Because like it's really taking the concept of the hero itself, like Thor and Loki, and it's like a deconstruction of those characters.
Yeah,
Because like it's kind of like feels like the entire movie is just a parody. And if you like those kind of movies, because on my first watch I was entertained because I had like no connection to the character itself. But if you watch Avengers and all those other like Marvel movies beforehand, and you try to make this continuity thing working on, then it's really painful because like there are so many things that like the movie introduces that just doesn't make any sense. And like the conclusion to it that like you're gonna pull it off at the end, Jesus Christ.
On the top,
it's just a Guardians remake. I feel like
that too.
You can just watch Guardians, and I think it's much executed better than Thor.
Like it's not like I like any of those Thor movies, but like at least like it had a serious tone for the most part.
At least it was consistent. 3, it's like whoa, what happened?
That's kind of the point. The character of Thor in the first and second film, he's very, I wouldn't say Shakespearean, but he does have some sort of nuance of grandiosity, and I'm this ruler of Asgard or whatever. And once you get to 3, he's just thrown into the trash, and he just sort of acts like, oh, I'm a modern man from Earth.
He's just along for the ride, really.
Not even just Thor. It's also Hulk too. He's not a science. He's not a nerd. He's like a weird.
Yeah, a lot of the characters, even Hulk is different than the other films. Especially when you get to Endgame, I haven't watched it, but I've seen the half Hulk or whatever the hell they call the.
Yeah, there's like so little being told about that character that like it's just really one of the worst parts about it. Because it's just Mark Ruffalo, or Buffalo, whatever his name is.
Ruffalo.
Okay.
Major problem
I don't care. It's like the worst thing about the movie.
I do want to ask on the topic of deconstruction. What?
Hi, Mark.
It's a very deep joke.
Sorry. On the topic of deconstruction, though, who here is tired of all the movies that try to deconstruct something?
Well,
all of us.
It's not, the idea isn't wrong. It's how they deconstruct. Like, if you look at the Matrix Resurrections film, right? That is so on the nose of what they're saying, and it's kind of this meta commentary on movies as a general at the time, and then taking apart this phenomenon, which was the first Matrix film, and it's kind of like, are they playing on the franchise to make money? Yes, obviously. Are they making fun of Warner Brothers to a degree? Yeah, they are. They're doing all these things, and you're like, what is this film really about, aside from just being self-aware so much that you're not even sure what's happening anymore? Where what is it? Keanu's like, 56, 57 years old at the time? So he can't do too many things, even though he's like John Wick. So it's like, do you want him to be physical or not? So he has like force powers now. He's not flying, but now Trinity can fly. Like, there's all this weird shit going on. You're like, what is the point of this all? And it's hard to. You're not talking about Deadpool.
It's self-aware and it doesn't know what it wants to be anymore.
I think my problem with deconstruction movies is not the quality of them, but the quantity of them. Because I've noticed a lot of them recently.
Yes.
There aren't really any more straightforward.
I blame Watchmen for
it.
You blame what?
There aren't as many straightforward narrative stories anymore. Yes. Most of the movies nowadays are either attempts, like you said, are attempts at deconstruction, or they are remakes or sequels or soft reboots. I think the most recent film that it was actually a TV show that just did the character as he was and didn't deconstruct him was Reacher.
Right.
If any of you
Oh,
heard of that.
good show.
Yeah, I've heard very
Reacher
good
was
things
awesome.
about that show.
So
Reacher is awesome.
So the idea of deconstruction can work. I was hoping to get that with one season of Picard, which is what we wanted this sort of like old man at the end of his career dealing with personal issues and just have 10 episodes of just all his issues and people and his life and why he's the way he is, as opposed to, oh, let's go on a wacky adventure in time and like, no, we don't want to see a 90-year-old man running around.
Suddenly he remembers that, like, oh yeah, my mom was suicidal.
It was like, you have issues since you were 4 or 6. Are you serious? An old man at the end of his days, and then Q comes by and says, "Oh, I want you to love again." Are you fucking?
You would think that like he had like so many like close to death moments in TNG.
There's
that he would
so
like
many.
remember those
Right.
things if like it really bothered him.
Yeah, like all the times he thought of his mom. It's like, oh, I can't love another woman because I feel bad about my mommy. And you're like, what?
If only
That was,
Rambo
like
did that.
occurring at all.
Yeah, there's so much stupid shit where they could have had a really good introspection. Like there could have been so many scenes with him and a counselor, or him and another person, or him and a young man talking about life and love and why he did the things he did.
It didn't make any sense to me. Like, and I was only like watching some YouTube videos about the plot itself. But didn't like Picard and Beverly Crusher were married to each other?
In the All Good Things,
I think like that's remember some. Yeah, in All Good Things. Yeah.
they divorced because he had whatever crazy mental illness, and she had her own
Yeah,
duties.
that is also very nice.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, I mean that happens, but he had an episode, The Inner Lights, where he had an entire 30 years. He had an entire family, kids. He learned to play the flute.
Yeah.
Like he obviously dealt with these problems, and you had 2 seasons, so 20 episodes of let's talk about life and love and get on with your life. You're an older man. What do you do? No. I'm gonna run around, fight gods, fight the Borg, get into gunfights. It's just like, what? No, you're an old man. You don't do that. It's stupid. But I don't know. There is time to have deconstruction, and there's a way to do it, and it takes time because it's a lot of analysis. You're basically telling a story about a guy sitting down and trying to figure out a problem called himself or themself or like true crime,
pronouns?
like true crime. That's a deconstruction. You're looking at a person who's a murderer. How'd they do it? How do I find them? You're deconstructing the scene. You're trying to figure out motive. You're trying to figure out method. You're doing all these details. And there's psychology, there's philosophy, there's all kinds of crazy shit happening. And it's a slow burn. It's a long series. And then they switch it up every season because they just want to, whatever. But that is how you do it. It's a slow process of understanding something. So that's a good deconstruction, I would say, is the proper way to do it. So it's not all bad. It's just that because of Marvel and DC, they do this stupid bullshit with action and explosions and superheroes.
But the bad deconstruction goes, you was expecting this, but here's the reality, and it fucking blows.
Yeah, it's horrible. With Picard, like some girl was able to argue with a galactic mastermind conqueror that, oh, you're just doing this because you're lonely. And you're like, what? That's it? So it's like going back in time and talking to Genghis Khan. Genghis, are you like sad? Or are you?
Yes. Yeah. It was so weird. Why would the Borg Queen care about a human being saying those things?
Or any being, for that matter.
Any being, for that matter, because she's supposed to have like trillions of those Borg already integrated to her.
Dozens of thousands of societies and cultures in her brain.
And then you also have like Hugh as well, or I don't know like what happened to him, like because I haven't watched like season 1. I do know that like he comes back because like that was the Borg where they implemented the thing that like he can actually have feelings now, and that's how the collective like disassembled. I haven't watched Voyager, so I have no fucking clue what happened to the Borg afterwards.
It's anyway. Let's not talk about Star Trek, but it's,
let's go away from it.
Yeah, it's such a mess, and writers who are bad trying to do something complicated like deconstruction have to go to school first to understand the term, who created it, how it works, show examples of it, and then say, okay, let me do what Derrida did, or Foucault or whomever, and you can use that.
That's often what you said before, right? Where you have to understand the rules before you break them.
Well, let's actually learn the rule and use the rule. Let's not, if you want to do deconstruction and then break the rules on deconstruction, wow, I have no idea how that would work.
Oh, okay.
Deconstruction is all about.
You may have deconstructed my anime, but I deconstructed your deconstructing. Oh yeah? Well, I deconstructed your deconstruction.
Words fail you.
Yeah.
Is that the Sharknado franchise?
No. I would say I would say parody comes close. Like maybe the Scream franchise. There's moments where they make fun of the whole it's like a meta commentary on horror movies.
What about Scary Movie? Hey, there's a bunny over there.
Right.
Or scary movies. Ugh. I haven't seen them, but just from the level of comedy that I've seen from various clips, I'm just like, people just stupid? Or like the people who, like Transformers fueling this stupid series of movies or something?
Yes.
That's the only way I can think so, because both of those movies are equally horrible.
Even Neil Breen films are more entertaining than that stuff.
Oh, that's amazing.
I know Neil Breen's the greatest B-movie creator of all time. He's amazing.
Neil Breen is like just too sweet for us, honestly. We don't deserve his genius.
Neil Breen. Oh boy! Imagine if the creators of The Room just kept going. They just kept making films.
If Tommy Wiseau and Neil Breen would make a cooperation.
Oh,
have you seen Tommy Wiseau's YouTube channel?
I want to see that.
Actually, Tommy Wiseau is making another movie. It's called Big Shark.
Still, I thought it came out.
Yeah, didn't he announce it on his YouTube channel, right?
Yeah, but that was like years ago.
It was announced years ago, but it hasn't come out yet.
Yeah. All right.
Weird.
Anyway, let us continue.
Is crippled, his hammer is destroyed, and he is left without much of his powers. Except the narrative of this film is more focused on Thor searching for an identity and how to overcome his struggles, not with his magical hammer, but by his own innate power. This is what the core of crippling a character really evokes. The more central the removed ability is to the character's identity, the more opportunity for growth the character has when facing challenges without that ability.
Okay, so the problem with this is that he got the concept wrong, because Thor's hammer is just a crutch. It's a tool he uses to focus his innate ability, and now that he doesn't have the crutch, now he could focus on being super powerful. This is, I remember this in Sandman, the first comic. We learn about Sandman. He has all these gems that he scattered throughout the universe, and he put a piece of his power in all of them. And as soon as they start getting destroyed, he goes back to being the original Dream King. So this is not the most accurate way of describing the crutch or the cripple, at least in this film. So, I'm trying to think of like Lieutenant Dan from Forrest Gump. Like he loses his legs, and he wanted to die, and he has to learn to.
Yes, that's like a much better implementation of this.
Yeah, so he has to find a new meaning to live. And he's a side character. He's not even the main focus, but that's all of Gump is a side story.
I might let my fanboy showing over the bad guys happen, but halfway in the movie, the wolf basically is trying to go good, despite the fact that all he pretty much knows is how to be bad. I mean, and a good chunk of the movie, like a part of the stuff in the movie, a part of the way in the movie, he gives all the loot back he stole from pretty much everywhere, which includes stuff like the Mona Lisa, a lot of gold and all that. And at the end of the movie, when they get out of prison, they just have to learn, well, what do we do now? Something. Or rather, well, one of the jokes at the very end was, people going, what do we do now? Since the prison was like a far away far away from their city they live in. And the process, we could just steal a car, and everyone gets annoyed at them. It's basically them trying to live a new life without what they're used to.
What movie is that?
The Bad Guys. Would that be a good example, though?
Oh.
Is that that new animated film?
Yeah, I love that film. I saw it 3 times already. Actually, maybe 4.
Oh,
wow,
cool.
That's impressive.
Just came out.
Wow, I didn't. I've heard of it, but
it's good. It's good.
Okay, I thought it was gonna be a joke. I don't know. I didn't even see the trailer. So
it's not Disney. Okay. It's DreamWorks. It's not a joke.
All right.
Okay.
Here is Carlos Batista. Thank you, sir. Imagine Bob Ross and Mr. Rogers had a collab. Okay. Yeah.
Screw the MCU. That would be the greatest crossover event in history.
Bob Ross was.
I mean, we did have Bob Ross, right?
Yeah, he was he was in the Air Force for like 20, 25 years. So would he?
Wow.
Would he be painting, for like on his off hours, and then he'd like come across the CBC or I don't know whoever broadcasts Mr. Rogers? They'd like walk across the aisle and like, hey, you got a good children's show. Oh, I heard you like painting. Like, oh, we could do something together.
Who plays Bob Ross? Because we know Tom Hanks is Mr. Rogers, right?
Oh. These days, maybe Kaepernick. He's got the hair for
it. Yeah.
Yeah, they got to have a black man, a black Bob Ross.
Yeah, it's time to redefine Bob Ross.
Netflix presents Bob Ross, The Untold Story.
It's Colin
There's
Kaepernick.
more than just one color. I don't know. Men in Black? I don't know.
Well,
no. The title should be "Not Everything Is in Black and White" or something.
That would be hilarious.
I'm horrible.
He could pull off the hair. We know that at least, so that's good. Anyway.
This is what happens with Jaime Lannister in Game of Thrones. Jaime's whole identity was wrapped up in being the prodigal, perfect, knightly son of House Lannister. His nearly unmatched skills in swordplay and outward appearance of perfection formed the basis of his...
There's already a chip on his shoulder a mile wide, and then he gets further down the hole. So, yes, this is true, but there's more to Jaime.
I have not seen anything about Game of Thrones or read the books. Is it, like, good or whatever? All I know is people were pissed off about the last season.
Oh God, no.
Yeah,
many seasons, right? But then
the final 4 seasons are awful, really bad. They're not worth watching the first 4 good seasons, I'd say.
Yeah, the books are. If you really like fantasy or epic stories, that's probably the. Next to Conan, I think that's probably the biggest and best fantasy to read about. If you just want to watch a cool show, watch the first 4 seasons. You'll have a great time. So, yeah, no, it's a great show.
I guess you could go as far as season 6 because season 6 is a decent enough ending.
Nah, after season 4, they all died in the plague and the end.
Yeah.
just forget about the bad memories.
Once upon a time, there was an ugly season, and the season was so ugly, everyone died. The end.
Thank you, Patrick.
Yeah.
Some characters I can do impersonations of, some characters I can't.
All right, so we know where he's going with this, with Jaime. So let's continue.
Personal, of just being better than everybody.
There are no men like me.
But when Jaime's hand is cut off, literally crippling him, he loses the ability to fight and the mirage of perfection. From there, the story is given an opportunity to develop Jaime since he now must find new footholds for his identity. Jaime becomes a better person because he himself is so vulnerable through his crippling. In other instances, crippling a character can show their resourcefulness and ingenuity, especially in a fiction with a hard magic system. Take a look at Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. Colonel Mustang is a ridiculously powerful alchemist. He wears gloves that spark when the fingers are snapped, and with the transmutation circle on the back of the gloves, he turns the spark into massive gouts of flames. He is so powerful, in fact, that the show frequently has to cripple him just so he doesn't immediately destroy the antagonist and remove the conflict. If his gloves get wet or are removed, he becomes useless. Those are the hard magic rules that moderate his powers. But even in these instances, one of the show's best moments comes from him overcoming these limitations. At a certain point, Mustang gets stabbed in the ribs and his gloves are shredded, both figuratively and literally crippling him. However, by using his own blood to create a transmutation circle on the back of his hand and using a spare lighter, he's able to cauterize his own wounds and then defeat the villain. Through these actions of overcoming the restrictions imposed by the hard magic system even while crippled, we as an audience learn of Mustang's quick wit and his indomitable will, and that delivery of information.
Yeah, but that's just a hurdle. That's not so much a crippling. That's just, oh, I can't do the fire thing I'm an expert at the normal way, the easy way. I'll do it the traditional way I've done it when I was learning it. It's like that's.
Yeah, it's more like a wound, really.
Yeah.
I think the main problem with this video is that the title is misleading as heck. It shouldn't be please cripple the characters. It's more, give them a freaking weakness.
A flaw.
A flaw. Yeah, it's
A
right.
flaw.
Give them an antagonist who can actually challenge them.
That's another part of it. Yeah, for sure. You don't create a Superman without making a guy stronger than Superman. You have to give him a challenge he could beat, or he can't beat rather. He has to struggle.
I think they did.
But it's kind of sounding like he wants every character to also overcome their flaw, whatever form that takes. I don't know if you need to do that all the time, do you?
To be fair, they did create a Superman that didn't have an enemy that was as strong as them. They called them Ray. Star Wars sequels can go fuck themselves.
You subverted my expectation.
All right. Here's Roni Harushin again. Thank you, sir. Bleach apparently did this with them character Kenpachi. TLDR, he has a powerful character who started both subconsciously and purposely handicapping himself to enjoy his fights more till the time came when he had to die to stop holding back. Yeah, that's the guy who's so freaking strong. They put a magical eye patch that sucks the what is it called, the life power out of him, and he only swings with one hand or whatever with his sword. He's so strong, and he hobbles himself essentially because he's so bored because everyone's so weak.
I think there's something similar like that in My Hero Academia. I almost said Boku no Academia. With Deku's All for One ability, or One for All, or which one is it? It's the one that isn't selfish, because there's two powers that one of them's All for One, the other one's One for All. It's stupid. Anyways, the power basically relies on, getting more powerful through one person to the next, for each time it's transferred. But with Deku, it's so powerful that if it gets transferred to the next person, that even if they don't have a quirk, they would not be able to handle it and would die with that power, would die in them or something like that, or something similar.
Okay.
I was thinking the My Hero Academia thing was similar to that. Sorry.
Okay, no problem. That's part of Kenpachi's character, as far as I recall. Like, that's how he's set up to be this intimidating, not a foil, but just like he is this wall no one can ever surpass, and the villains can't stop him. And it's the excuse to have a big fight scene, essentially, a big stupid fight scene, and even the reasoning that, oh, what if I hold the sword with two hands? Or, I was like, what? That does nothing. So there's all kinds of silly logic and simple scenes just to have a a big ass fight scene. Because at the time, wasn't that when Naruto was also popular and they were sort of vying for attention? Yeah.
Yep.
So there was like, oh, everyone's like, Bleach is better, and all the fans are like, we don't care. Enjoy both. This weird.
I remember that. Oh god, and One Piece as well.
Yeah, it's like this is better than that. It's like
It couldn't shut up about it.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Watch all three. I don't care. Just enjoy it.
I feel bad because I've not seen a single episode of One Piece, Naruto, or Bleach.
Well, same for me. I actually have seen more Bleach than either of those two. I watched it when Ichigo got to the Soul Society. Yeah, that was when I stopped watching it.
I haven't seen any. The only anime I have watched is the Count of Monte Cristo anime, and
that's a really good one.
Yeah.
The only
You should watch Cowboy Bebop. None.
The only anime I've seen outside of Pokemon would be outside Dragon Ball 2, because that's obvious. Would be Great Teacher Onizuka, which I freaking love.
Yep, that's fun.
That's a really good show.
That show is awesome. They should have had a second season.
It will never have. But the manga is really good.
Yep.
Why'd they have to get rid of that art style of the old anime? The old anime art style is probably one of my favorites.
I like the.
It had a very weird history.
Yeah,
It's like they began production on that, and then you can see that why does this look like this in 2001 when the next show they're gonna work on is the Naruto first season?
Right.
Pretty much.
Like the Legend of Galactic Heroes style, and they updated it for the new one. I would have preferred the 90s or the 80s, 90s quality.
It lost all the magic.
It's not the same. Yeah. Sadly. Anyway.
Animation is done far smoother than what exposition could ever accomplish. Crippling a character can also present a narrative opportunity for them to rise above and discover an entirely new ability. This is what happened to Toph when she was put in a metal cage. By removing her traditional access to earthbending, she didn't just give up, she uncovered a power that no one thought she had. If we're going to stick with Avatar, crippling a character also works not to just create a new identity, but to reaffirm a character's morals and values.
Is this where she does metal bending, I think?
Metal bending, yes.
Yeah, see, this is, again, not a good example because she's weak in one area or whatever, and then she develops a brand new power, and you're like, oh.
No, she's literally blind.
Yeah, no, we know that. But they're putting her in this whatever because she can't sense the outside world because she has those seismic vibrations. She can see everything with that method. So
she discovered them by the way the mole, I think.
Right.
The mole bear or something.
But it can't penetrate metal very well. But then she starts learning to bend metal. You're like, oh, okay, all right.
And then we see Legend of Korra, which has metal bender so common, you might as well say they gave out that ability like candy.
Yeah.
Seriously, Korra can.
It's the best show, I know.
So these concepts are. I don't like this example because it's like, oh, you take away one of her superpowers and then she develops another one. It's like that's not. To me, that's not really what you do with that scenario. What you do is you take away, let's say, Batman's vision, right? So he can't see in the dark anymore or whatever. He's blinded. So he has to rely on his...
So Daredevil.
What? What's that?
So Daredevil.
Well, yeah, something like that, where he's relying on his other senses, on his knowledge of the environment, of him predicting where the enemy will be. Like he's using another skill, but not something that like he has super hearing all of a sudden. Or he developed the sixth sense of, spider sense, like nothing like that. That's silly.
What about echolocation?
If it's like a technological thing, I just have this echolocation transmitter in my ear. By the way,
so one example is actually Cyclops. There was an episode of X-Men Evolution where they just. Mystique just takes away Cyclops' glasses, and he has to keep his eyes closed because otherwise he'll destroy everything in his vicinity.
Yeah, I've seen a comic. It was it Ultimate X-Men, where he had the visor button in his palm, and he did like a Spider-Man sort of look, where Spider-Man shoots his webbing. It's the same sort of hand motion, and he could control his visor with his hand. That's not really a limitation. That's just, again, the same technique with a different activation. Same with Mustang. You know, it's just he's doing the same thing with a different way to get there, which is fine. It's still a hurdle, but that's not what I would consider a crippling. That's just a hurdle in the plot. That's just to get from A to B. You can't open the door with the key because you lost the key, so you get a lockpick and you learn to lockpick, and it's like, okay, yeah, that works.
On the topic of X-Men, what happened to the X-Men? I don't think I've seen anything recent with them at all.
Marvel happened to them.
Screw you, Marvel!
Yeah, the whatever the licensing from was it Fox who owned Marvel? Was finished.
Yeah.
And it's now in the hands of Marvel and or Disney or whatever, whoever owns it now, and they haven't touched it since. So, but that's
they want to screw over Professor Xavier again. Isn't that wonderful?
I heard something about that. That's weird. It's another freaking Patrick Stewart bullshit. Like, you know, like he needs more money.
Just barely did Doctor Strange 2,
right.
And that had Professor X in it.
Yeah, I think.
That's like another thing. Like with Patrick Stewart, he's not even playing any of these characters. He's just playing himself.
He's in a.
From what I've seen from Picard, he's like pretty much just Patrick Stewart.
Well, yeah. If you watch that show, he does maybe 1/8 of the work. Everyone else does their own task, and he's just sort of along for the ride.
Yeah. Even though the show is named after him.
Yeah, that's why you don't have an elderly man running around trying to save the galaxy. You have him sitting in a chair talking to people about life and love and philosophy. And if you were
because
Picard,
he's crippled.
Yeah, if you were Picard in your old age, you would be the hard ass. You would be like so strict on everything because that's how you lived your life. You were so like by the book, doing things properly, in command of the flagship of the Federation. Always arguing. Like, he's the guy who argues. He's the guy he's the diplomat.
Yes, he is such a good diplomat. Like, that's my favorite side of him. Like none of that really shows in Picard season.
If he were to go anywhere, he would be a literal diplomat or ambassador for the Federation to, I don't know, like the Romulans, for example, their enemies. They'd be like, yeah, I'm gonna deal with this problem as a diplomat.
Yeah, I thought like the first season of Picard would have been like that. That like he needs to like make peace with them, and like he would be one to like finally get them to join the Federation and like not be like scumbags who betray them.
It felt.
Sorry.
It felt more like he was a British ambassador going to South America, trying to negotiate trade agreements or something, and you're just like, why is he wearing a white hat and a white suit, talking to children and women? I'm like, what is going on?
Insert Disney joke here.
Yeah.
But I do want to say that I remember saying on the last podcast that you don't have to be a good fighter to be a good character. And him being a good diplomat shows that.
Yeah. No, there's plenty of roles that an old person in a story can fulfill. And we saw that with The Expanse, with Shohreh Aghdashloo's character, who she plays the same character pretty much all of her shows the past 10, 15 years. She's the diplomat, she's the leader.
President of the universe.
Yeah, she's always trying to have the best outcome for everyone, but that's what diplomacy is. So, and she's great. She's amazing. She makes the show. So that's what I was expecting, and we never got it. All right, here is Gingaman. How you doing, Gingaman? I would like to remind you all that X-Men 97, a.k.a. the reboot of the 90s X-Men, is going to be the next target of woke activism.
We know.
Oh, please no.
Wait, the animated series?
Yes, there's gonna be a reboot for it.
Please spare my
sequel.
girl
Wow.
Jubilee. Please spare my girl Jubilee.
How do you do that? Like,
Just like that.
Think about Wolverine, Jesus.
Well, I do remember in the middle 90s, they had Generation X, which was their attempt at doing the younger generation of X-Men. And they even made a TV movie for that. And I think it had Jubilee in as well. She was part of it. But holy hell, they ruined that. Like they tried to make a new franchise through that. And it just did not work.
Is that where they also they wore all black also? I think.
Yes, I think that was the... Wait, no. They did have actual blue and gold costumes, I think, in the show. Live action. It wasn't black, no.
Oh.
And they didn't have the budget or let alone the technology to do the characters justice. Like, there's a guy who has his entire upper body blown off, and he's basically this chamber of pure psionic energy billowing out of him. Like, you'd have to have like a demon on fire, like sort of looking thing. And they just turned him into another Scott Summers. So he's just a guy with laser beams.
Who's Scott Summers again? Oh, wait, that's Cyclops.
Yeah. And the thing is, I loved the comic when I was a kid. I was like, oh, this is great. This is fantastic. And then it got dumb. And then the show came out. You're like, oh, my God, that was horrible. So, yeah, they fail and try a lot. But that's Marvel. They keep turning out random crap. Sometimes they win.
Marvel is crippling themselves.
Yeah. Well.
Yep.
I beg you, please cripple your characters. Not Marvel. Please, Marvel, stop crippling yourselves.
Marvel is good at having characters that have weaknesses for sure. It's just trying to
more.
Well, yeah. I mean, think about what Japan has done with the rom-com genre of high school stories and manga. Yeah. And then it's like, wow, they're so good at it. And then you look at the 90s, like the middle of the 90s with Generation X, and you're just like, you guys should have figured this shit out from the 60s, and you're making this crap up.
Mm-hmm.
Like the story between Scott Summers and Jean Grey is pretty much the same story of Chamber and Husk in Generation X. It's almost the same.
Yeah, it's rough. It kind of makes me think of like, even though like overpowered characters can be fun, like you gotta make them relatively entertaining and make it relatively difficult for them to overcome their problems. Like an example, like this is a bad example, but Yu-Gi-Oh! Vrains, the character Yusaku Fujiki never loses a single duel he is in. Ever. That's because like his deck is built so that he can come back from really any situation because he uses a lot of graveyard trap cards.
Well, to be fair, and I'm gonna say this honestly, he's the only Yu-Gi-Oh! Protagonist with a banned card that's banned at the time outside Pot of Green, which everyone else had. Like Firewall Dragon was notoriously busted. Like, it was the card that got every other card banned before people.
Good thing is, he only uses that card 3 times across the course of the show.
Well, yeah, but still.
It's pretty broken, though. Yeah.
Yeah, it's ridiculous how many cards got banned before Konami finally bit the bullet and say, okay, Firewall, you gotta go.
Firewall is perfect. Now all you need is Cosmic Blazar Dragon or a Majestic Shooting Star Dragon in order to keep them out.
No, Crystron, whatever it is, Needle Fiber. I'm going by Japanese name. Because the American name, oh dear God, the thing's a Crystron Needle Fiber. Because that thing also got a lot of tuners banned.
All right. We are 7 minutes and a half in. We're almost done. We got 3 more to go.
Halcrofibrax is its name in English.
Okay, guys.
It's impossible to pronounce.
All right, let's keep going.
Now let's Pokemon move. Just kidding.
Zuko loses his firebending after joining Aang and must go on an outward and inward journey to find a new source of fuel for his bending. By the end of the episode, he is reaffirmed that joining the Avatar gang was the right thing to do because firebending need not come from anger and fury, but from an appreciation for life, freedom, and existence. Similarly, Spider-Man 2, hailed as one of the greatest comic book movies of all time, sees Peter Parker crippled with the inexplicable loss of his powers. He sees this as an opportunity to just give up being Spider-Man, but eventually learns that part of his life is just as important as being Peter Parker. He ends the film finding the proper position for his life as Peter and as Spider-Man, renewed in his conviction to be the hero and man New York needs, but only because he had to personally face the reality of powerlessness head on. There are really so many ways to benefit from taking away a character-defining ability. Logan is able to explore Wolverine's vulnerability and humanity by taking away his healing. Spider-Man Homecoming almost...
Wasn't this
Well, they didn't really take it away. It was just he's getting old. That's his.
He's getting old, and it's like very dangerous for him to like inject himself with that adrenaline thing.
wasn't
It's like the
Homecoming
repercussions for that is like lethal for him.
wasn't Homecoming the film that had Gwen Stacy die, which was absolutely
No, it was
what?
it was the Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Oh yeah, I thought that was.
Homecoming is the first MCU Spider-Man movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, where nothing happens.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's kind of uneventful.
I'm still.
I don't want to be an Avenger. Great, Peter. Thanks.
Yeah, see,
So now you're about to be an Avenger.
this whole argument is like, just write a character who's not strong. Just don't make a character who's like at the peak of his existence or his job or skill set. Have a kid who's coming of age, and he's got to learn the ropes. He's got to learn to fight. He's got to learn to survive, whatever the conflict is for this character, whatever journey he has to go on, and just tell that story. This guy's like, hey, Superman, he's awesome. You know, give him a lot of kryptonite. You're like, oh, all right, and have him deal with that.
And then Wolverine, he's not healing. I'm like, well, he's just getting old. I mean, I was gonna say, it wasn't Rocky. Wasn't there a movie where like Rocky was old and so he started?
Apollo.
Was it Victor? Apollo Creed's son, right?
It's either Creed or Balboa.
Michael B. Jordan, whatever.
Yeah, I lost track after like
That was
3 or
Creed.
4. I don't know how many there were.
Yeah, and I think Rocky also had cancer as well, and so he has to deal with, getting old and the possibility of dying now.
Okay.
Never puts Peter in a place with tall buildings to web swing, meaning we get to see a Spider-Man who has to be much more tactical and deliberate, even if Peter is still a goofball. How to Train Your Dragon cripples Toothless and uses that.
Well, he's just saying there's less buildings, so the setting is different. Therefore, he has to think. And that's fine. But
I mean, even with the buildings, it shouldn't.
That's not what it was about.
well, even if that was the case, that's not crippling your character. You just can't swing very far or fast anymore. It's like he's still Spider-Man.
Well, then there was Far From Home. He went to what was it, Italy? What? There's no big buildings there too, I guess.
Yeah. Well, they have some big buildings. It's just in specific areas.
I'm trying to think. Was one of them the Tower of Pizza or something like that?
It was. I know one of them was the bridge, London Bridge. That was one location. Let's see.
How is that a character flaw? You can't swing like you used to. I don't. It's not allowed. Not enough large structures.
It's a character obstacle or character limitation more than a flaw.
It is a part of the plot and the setting. So I call it a hurdle to get to where he needs to go. It's just a different sized hurdle. It's all it is.
I will give this guy this. He does give a good example with the Night Fury with How to Train Your Dragon, considering one of its wings was like lopped off, and Hiccup had to basically make a new tail wing for it. At the very end, Hiccup loses his leg in the same way that the Night Fury lost his wing. So
I mean, that was kind of story about it, right? They had to be interconnected as one.
So, I'm looking at the budget for Spider-Man: Homecoming, Spider-Man: Far From Home. Guess how much it was?
$1.
How much? No.
160 million. So, by comparison, guess how much remember how much the first season of Rings of Power costs?
What's Rings of Power?
It's gotta be the Amazon series for Lord of the Rings.
Oh, Lord of the Rings knockoff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Apparently, the first season is 500 mil.
500 million
500
for a
mil?
TV show. With how many
500 million.
episodes exactly?
It's 60 mil per episode, so 8 episodes.
Holy.
8 episodes.
Seriously.
Wait, did you say million or billion?
Million. Yeah, a billion though.
It was a billion for the whole show.
It would have been $1 billion if it was 24 episodes.
So you said 60 million per episode?
Yes.
Does
You
that
can
mean
make an
we give
animated movie from just 60 million.
So,
Do we give him an award?
The total cost for the TV show is $1 billion.
Wow.
Because you also have to count like the rights for those books as well.
The rights themselves cost $250 million.
Plus marketing.
And the first season costs 462.
How?
the
Like that
first
has to be
season.
money laundering. Like no
Well,
fucking way.
Compare
Yes.
that.
Yes, it is.
Compare that to Game of Thrones. Like it wasn't as expensive, but that went on for what, 9 years? So,
The first
Yeah, about
season,
that, yeah.
it was 60 million for the whole season.
right.
The 6 million per episode, and then it got up to 10 million per episode in season 6. And then it got up to 20 million in season 8.
Yeah. That's when they did longer episodes, but less number of them.
Yeah.
Whew, yeah, scary times.
Is this what you get when you don't film in New Zealand?
It's a combination of things. You know, if you've been on a show for that long, you demand more cash, I'd imagine, depending on the contract you sign, how long you expect to go.
Oh, sure, but like $500 million.
Yeah.
Hmm?
I just hope the
Yeah.
writing does not. If someone like Peter Jackson, like that sort of singular view, can take a hold of that and rein it in, it might be amazing. It could be a fantastic show. The movies were good. They weren't breathtakingly like the Hobbit trilogy.
Hobbit trilogy.
was
that was a
pretty bad,
complete
yeah.
ass.
Yeah, it wasn't amazing, but you could still watch it and go, that's fun to watch. But other than that, you're like, this is too silly to take seriously.
Especially since like they basically had to make the film a massively reduced time scale because Guillermo del Toro faffed around a lot and wasted time, and Warner Brothers ended up kicking him out. And Peter Jackson had to redo everything of his from scratch with only like 6 months of production time or something.
Really, I thought like he walked out from the production.
Either one, it's not clear, but Guillermo del Toro in an interview said, I have incredible heartache over the situation. So that to me implies he got fired.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think that he walked off. It doesn't seem like, and especially since how excited he was to do it. He was, like he used the word, I am exploding with excitement.
Yeah.
And then he had to leave, and he's like, I have incredible heartache over this. So that implies to me he was fired.
It could also be that he had to leave because of other reasons, which could be plot.
Honestly, if anyone was given the reins of anything with Tolkien, you would just devote your life to that. Like you would just focus on that completely. You know, anyone in Hollywood, rather. I guess the average person wouldn't, but I think anyone who knows fantasy or entertainment would be like, "Oh my god, are you serious?"
It's like being commissioned to do a Bob Ross memorial painting, and you're an artist, you're like, I gotta do this. Bob Ross was a good one. I gotta do this.
Even if you're not a landscape artist, yeah, you'd be like, I'm doing bushes and twigs and forests. Like, okay.
Well, ouch. So he was apparently, he got 2 years of pre-production, Guillermo del Toro did, and then he left.
Oh boy.
So basically all that work went to nothing because nobody expected to do it from scratch.
Okay. Anyway, let's continue. Almost done.
To not only he and Hiccup closer together to show how warring factions can get along, but to demonstrate that a physical disability is nowhere near the end of a person's usefulness. We are not defined by our limitations, but how we choose to adapt and grow from them. Heck, even video game narratives benefit from crippling a character. At the start of Assassin's Creed 1, Altair was a master assassin, but due to a mission failure, he was stripped of all of his equipment and privileges, forcing him and the player to relearn everything from the standpoint of a trainee. Does every story need a plotline wherein a character loses their best ability? Certainly not. There are tons of fiction out there that thrive on a multitude of other interesting narrative techniques. But at the same time, I do think that a great many stories could benefit from putting their character in a position of weakness and vulnerability. By stripping away all the power and glamour that a character's skill allows them, you then get to dive so much deeper into who they really are and what they really care about. Oftentimes, a character's power becomes the focus of the tension and conflict, but it's really the character themselves that should stand in that.
Okay, so he's now talking about the core of this, which is the weakness of the character, not a physical skill, not a tool, not a special power. It's all about the psychology of the individual and what makes them tick. That's what he's getting at. It's like, yes, you're right, and you went about it the backwards way. So if he just said, give your characters flaws, then connect that to the plot, connect that to their character, like a skill, like they really like waterfalls, waterfalls, they're pretty, and they learn to surf, or they learn to study the plants and how to care for plants, and then they can't see or smell or taste plants anymore. They lose their sight. All their research is destroyed. Do all kinds of conflicts for them. It's just flaws with conflicts, and how they grow and change to adapt to those conflicts, or those how to overcome the hurdle, how to get their skills back, how to overcome the plot. That's it. He's not wrong. He just got there in a backwards way.
He's right for the wrong reasons, essentially.
His method of expression was off, yeah.
It's a lot better than that Saber Spark video, though.
God.
Or anything by Just Right.
Who's Just Right?
Oh. I have forgotten.
Is it
Lucky.
He's one of the lazy YouTubers who only comes out with a video like once every 2 months.
He engages in sloth.
Okay, so it's like ER, but is he bad?
Oh, he's bad.
Okay, so he's like ER, but without the coolness about him.
Well, he does get some things right, which is odd. Like he'll analyze.
Skywalker was a lukewarm.
Yeah, he did the collateral analysis, which I liked, because that's pretty accurate. And he talks about the climax and the hero and the villain. That was great. I thought he did a really good job there. But when he starts talking about like popular crap and he puts his own interpretation with politics as always, you just sit there and go, dude, come on, that's not what's in the film.
Which review was this?
Star Wars.
He's done a series of bad videos. Like he hated Mulan 2020 because there wasn't enough gay representation in it.
Who is this person again?
Just Right.
Just Right. Oh yeah.
He's
let's
the guy
add gay representation in a country in a time which both would hate gays.
Yeah,
I think like my favorite video from him is the one with Star Wars: The Last Jedi. Is that they are like this specific, like I think it's the B wing, like one of the wings. Like basically like there's a Y wing, that's the ship, and it was in New Hope, and it's basically like specific reason why it's good to use that ship, because it's a bomber ship and it flies really fast. And in The Last Jedi, you had like these really old World War II type of bombers that move extremely slowly in space. It doesn't make any sense that like they use them for the fight. And his justification for why didn't they use the Y-wing is because like people don't really remember the Y-wing.
No, people.
How should they know?
Most people don't know what a Y-wing is.
Yes, that was the exact same words. Oh god.
Then Wolf went nuts on it and called
Yeah,
it.
I remember like 5 minutes of just screaming.
I can't remember if it was him or another guy who's saying, was it Jack Saint? They said like, why are you arguing the structural strength of these bombers? Because what they show is that the bombers are weak because they can collide with other ships, and that's the point.
I think that was Jack saying.
Yeah, it was the dumbest. Like, it's like, are you stupid? Like, are you? It's like, by the way, the wall is white. It's like, yeah, my eyes aren't blind. What are you talking about? And
colorblind?
It shows you the wall is white, and that's the point. And you're like, the point of what?
The best part is that like in the 9th episode, the Y-wing comes back.
Oh yeah, it does.
So it's just it
well,
does.
everything comes back. The whole freaking galaxy comes back with every ship imaginable. Anyway, yeah, those
a
guys.
long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, we had to use these shitty ships.
He also has a video called "A Disney Monopoly is a Problem," according to Disney's Recess.
What?
Yep.
Okay.
Did you not?
Oh
He
god,
also-
I remember his Attack on Titan video. Like it was so bad that it was
Deleted
taken
it.
down by YouTube.
YouTube doing a good job for once.
Yes.
He also
Now, if they
did,
could just annihilate the channel, that'd be great.
Oh, because like he got mad that it has a reference to like genocidal maniacs from World War II and history in general.
Is that why YouTube said it's a big no?
So, he also said that the Snyder Cut is fine.
I mean,
Whatever. I don't want to look at this.
Yeah.
the Snyder Cut. Well, it should have been released anyways because. What was the reason why again? I think
Freaking
the
5
guy.
hours?
Well, no, it was more the guy had
6
to quit
hours.
filming because of
His daughter committed suicide.
Yeah, it was kind of messed up.
And Joss Whedon came in and redid most of the film because the film was terrible.
And 6 hours long.
Yeah. At 4 hours long, yeah.
Anyway, we got like 40 seconds left, so.
Wasn't the original Justice League just as bad though?
They were both bad films.
Bad.
They're both
Yeah.
bad films. It's just like Joss's version is better because it's half the playtime.
You either want
You can't
parody
go-
or you want boring. I don't.
Yeah.
Which do you want?
It's pain. Do you want to sit through 6 hours of pain or 2.5 hours of pain or whatever? This one's better.
Depends on if I'm with a friend or not.
Yeah, this one
Oh
hurts.
Hey,
god,
less.
his original
I mean,
vision that it needs to be
the
black and
original-
white and by 4:3 ratio as well.
Oh god, yeah.
That is just
800
wow.
by 600 is the way to go. Like what? What?
With basically with the villain pulling a Danny kind of forgot about an entire planet.
Well, I did like the 6 hour version that Joker wanted to give Batman a reach from. So that was a peak for me.
Anyway, 40 seconds. Let's go.
That position. For all you writers out there, it's completely up to you to judge how this writing method would affect your story. But I can personally vouch for the potential that it has in creating something unexpected and truly engaging. Anyway, thanks for watching all the way until the end. If you like what you heard, leave a like, comment, and subscribe.
All right, good stuff.
Solid video.
Yep.
Pretty good video.
Solid video. Title should have been better though. It's a little bit misleading.
Give your character a handicap. How about that?
Maybe it could have been better examples.
Only
The
make
examples.
an OP character if they have a threat that works against them at their level.
What's this guy's name again?
It's on the screen.
Savage.
Okay. My boy Savage Books is a little confused, but he got the spirit. I mean, he's confused, but he got the spirit.
He's got good advice. It's a bit backwards, but it's fine. It does work out.
Not a single mention of political things.
Exactly.
Thank
All
goodness.
right. You should cripple your characters. Who the fuck starts a conversation like that? I just said.
Oh boy, let me see the memes on here.
All right.
The
remember
thing that I'm looking forward to the most is the Wheel of Time. Is the Lord of the Rings shill sites.
Oh
coming
my
out.
gosh, Wamu!
remember, kids, blinding yourself will help you gain the advantage in the heat of battle. Oh my god!
Yes.
I know this
I remember
part.
that.
I know this part.
Mobile suit cut.
This is too much.
When you press disable flash on your camera.
Oh my god.
Music enabled. Music disabled.
Oh.
These are great. I love these.
Can
Oh.
pretend to be mentally abnormal.
Ooh, okay.
With a
Yes,
name
I
like
know it's
Stone.
from my funny, but I don't care.
Wow, that was the perfect amount of memes.
I can't read that. Sorry.
It goes like this. The kryptonite is near your heart. I don't know if I'll get it before the wound closes. Where's the flash when you need him? Do me a favor and lose a sense of humor. Do us both a favor and buy one. Urge to shove the shard into his heart intensifies.
Which movie is this? I don't remember.
I think it's an
Wait a
animated
minute.
film.
Wait a minute. Is that Soren Markov profile picture?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I love him! He's one of my favorite planeswalkers.
It's
done
pretty
it
damn
dirty.
cool.
They done Avacyn dirty, by the way. I'm so mad they killed off Avacyn.
Yeah. Avacian it is a very. She kind of went out like a punk.
They fucking did her dirty. I legit almost quit Magic because of that.
Ouch.
Yeah, she was one of my favorite characters.
I think I got into it around. I actually got into it around just before Eldritch Moon came out.
I got into it. I believe around Avacyn's Restored or New Player Exia. I don't know. Those were my favorite sets though, because New Player Exia has a lot of cool stuff, and Avacyn Restored. I mean, Avacyn. I mean, yeah, they also had Gristlebrand, which got banned in pretty much a lot of formats, I believe.
All right, guys. Well, we're under 2 hours. Not bad for a good video. Nice to take it apart a bit. I enjoyed it. Good guy, good channel. Good advice in general. So, good stuff to follow when you're writing a character. You're learning about giving your characters flaws or developing throughout the story.
Someone posted the pink kryptonite meme.
Okay. Anyway, thank you so much. Happy Mother's Day. Have yourself a great evening and enjoy your weekend. Thank you and have a good night.
Happy Martha's Day.
Have a good day, everybody.